Hi, I'm Cheng Thom, and you're watching Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse, a series of short videos in which I teach you everything you need to know about sex. Sex, 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 sexy sex. And other stuff too, but today's question is about sex. So the question is, how can I get more comfortable expressing what I want in bed? Great question. If you figure it out, let me know. I want to frame this by saying we are really set up, most of us, in the dominant colonial culture, and also in lots of other cultures, to not be comfortable expressing what we want in bed, partly by virtue of the fact that we are almost never talked to about sex at all, right? Except for in like the most stylized of ways. And by stylized, I mean like in the media, really glossy versions of sex where nobody ever has to ask what they want. You know, you watch the movie or the porno and they're just somehow doing everything that the other person seems to want them to do, and it's amazing. And that's just kind of not how it works in real life, because there is no way to know what another person wants unless they tell you, for the most part. So explicitness is really key for many successful sex interactions, particularly early on when we don't know each other well, and also particularly later on where our preferences may have shifted over time, and also in the middle. So basically, really good communication is key throughout most sexual interactions. People often think that they are afraid of awkwardness around sex and sexuality, when really what they are afraid of is rejection. So I've heard a lot of people of all ages in sex education workshops or sex education settings say, oh, it's so awkward to talk about sex. And they say this in relation to consent often, right? Like, when we're teaching consent models, that have to do with asking explicitly if you can do something to someone else's body or if they can do something to your body, rather than just sort of trying to force it to happen or make it happen without talking about it. People will say, oh, that's so awkward, it's unsexy. But often we're actually afraid of rejection. Like, oh, what I want is stupid, or what I want is weird, or what I want is not okay, all these kinds of things. And the other person will laugh at me, or they'll leave me, or they just won't do what I want, and then I'll have to feel like garbage alone, right? This is what people fear in sex a lot of the time. And then because many of us, really unfortunately, have experienced sexual trauma of some kind or another, or because we've received really explicit negative messaging from various parts of the dominant and other cultures about sex and particular sexual acts, we have some like deep shadows within us a lot of the time around like what we want being sinful or bad, in general, bad for humanity. Like there's lots of queer folks walking around still believing in some part of us that having queer sex is bad for humanity, right? I don't believe any of that is true, but it is really hard to unshame ourselves around sex. So that unshaming process is the first thing I think. We can do a lot of reading, we can do a lot of thinking, journaling, reflection around the origins of our awkwardness, our fear of awkwardness, which is that fear of rejection around sexuality, and coming up with language to talk about our desires in ways that feel good for us. Asking for something like, would you go down on me? Would you give me head, right? Like these questions are often really intense for people to think about asking in an actual real life context. And it can be helpful to rehearse. I know that sounds really weird, but it actually can be really helpful to alone in private practice saying the words and finding just the right ones that are sexy for you. Because if they're sexy for you, chances are they're going to come off that way more for the person with you. There's no guarantee of that, but it's important for you to have words that are sexy for you. Other ways to get more comfortable just include practice, like doing it when you're with a partner out there in the wild. Maybe seeking out community spaces where sex is being talked about. There are lots of great workshops out there at local sex stores. In Toronto, we've got Come As You Are and Good For Her. I love these independent sex shops because they're also often part of sex communities, right? Like communities that are invested in building education around sex. Sex education is not just about, when should we use a condom and how do we prevent STIs? That's very important. Preventing STIs and, also preventing unwanted pregnancies. These are important, but sex education is far more than preventing, unwanted conditions. It is also getting what we want in a good way and giving other people what they want in a good way. So really investing in spending time working through creating sexual skills in an environment that's not actually having sex right away can be really important. And I also really always like to recommend somatic sex education, sexological bodywork, surrogate partner therapy, sacred intimacy. These words may mean nothing to many of you. What they all are is professions where we get to actually practice having a sexual interaction with someone in a paid environment where the person is a professional and can work with us. Also, many sex workers offer this kind of service as well. You just want to be really respectful and mindful of which sex workers you're approaching, because not all of them do that. But really getting practice in an environment with someone who feels safe to you is a really good way. Just so you know, if you are going to seek out the services of a professional to help you in a hands-on way with expressing your sexual desires, really important to check on the legal context of purchasing services like that. In some jurisdictions, purchasing sexual education that's hands-on or sex work services is legal, and in others it's illegal, and in others it's legal for the worker but illegal for the buyer, or in others legal for the buyer but illegal for the worker. So you really want to know what like the legal context is if you're going to explore an option like that. I wish it was legal for everyone because I believe it's really necessary. I think the last thing I might leave you with is you don't have to do it all tomorrow. It's really, really okay to go slow, to try one thing at a time, like one new word, one new question, asking for one particular activity that feels relatively low stakes to you, right, if it doesn't go the way you want, and slowly to build comfort and tolerance. Learning to have sex is actually incredibly complicated. It's a complex skill. There's all the physical ins and outs, the mechanical pieces, there's all the emotional pieces, there's the interactive pieces. Really, the way that the dominant culture teaches us to have sex is like, honestly, it's like taking a person who has never been in water before and throwing them off a high diving board into a really deep swimming pool and saying, go, do it perfectly. That's really kind of how our culture, or how our dominant culture is around sex a lot of the time. And I'm here to say, you know, it's okay to wade into the shallow end. It's okay to wear water wings. It's okay to hire a teacher to help you learn how to swim. We don't learn how to swim in one day. We don't learn how to have sex in one day. So be compassionate to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself the time you need. Okay, that's it for today. You've been watching Ask Kai. Quick tips for the apocalypse. Stay safe, wash your hands, have good sex.